everybody, and welcome to this week's CineFix Now Roundtable. It's a bit more intimate this week.
Yeah, where is everybody?
It's more of a square table, as there's only four of us, but we'll make do. We'll make do.
Quadrilateral.
We could play bridge.
We certainly could, or any number of other four-player games. But instead, we're going to talk about all the fun things that happened this week.
Ghostbusters is coming back to theaters in August.
That's going to be really exciting.
That's cool.
I honestly don't remember if I saw Ghostbusters in the theater
Me
or not.
neither.
I don't think that I did.
Me neither.
It was 85, right?
It was 84.
It was 84, because it's the 30th
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's 84. So clearly I wouldn't have seen it in the theater.
It's going to get remastered, and I'm really excited.
Oh, are they gonna like change guns into walkie-talkies or something like they did in E.T.?
No, but they will
They're just
have,
going to like clean it up a little bit.
and they will have Bill Murray dancing with a daredevil as
Yeah.
well.
And they're going to make Cloud City look completely different, but which was a Star Wars Special Edition reference that
And mine was a
We
Fred
don't-
Astaire reference.
Right.
You kids, you're too young. You're too young.
we don't have the right four people for a Star Wars joke to land in this room.
So, okay, we know
Not a burn.
Ghostbusters is re-hitting theaters. We're all excited about that. What would be your other pick for a re-release of your personal favorite movie?
Okay. Okay.
Oh, you're already ashamed to admit it. I can
No,
tell.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm just like I'm not. For some, I don't personally have the like theatrical better like the watching it in a theater is better kind of nostalgic
You
feeling.
don't want the shared experience
I'm
of seeing
fi-
it with
no,
other
that-
people who love it as much as you do?
Yeah, and like I like things like going to like Cinespia and doing the like public screenings and things, but like it doesn't like super excite me. It's like it's fun, it's fine, but it anyway. But if I was to pick one,
Which was the question
Which was
several
the
minutes
question.
ago.
I know, but that's why it made it hard to answer because it's like because of the sort of general gray
Okay,
excitement.
well, it's
of
just,
it.
you literally
What is
have
the
to pick
goddamn
one right
movie?
now. You have to pick one.
Flash Gordon.
Like a remastered,
like a
whole new
remastered Flash Gordon with more 70s effects. You take some mushrooms. You go to the you go to the theater. It feels like you took some mushrooms.
Isn't that like
Shiitake mushrooms, not drug mushrooms.
But isn't that like the remastering of a movie like Flash Gordon? It's just taking drugs and watching it again.
yeah.
Like, that's kind of the same deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It costs a lot
if
less.
you watch it in your living room, it feels like you're in a theater.
Right. Sort of related to Ghostbusters, and the only reason this is related to Ghostbusters is because growing up, I had a tape on which Ghostbusters was recorded along with this movie. But I would love to see The Last Starfighter in theaters.
I haven't seen that in a real long
I haven't
time.
seen
Me
that in a
neither.
really
Yeah.
long time.
I like every time I stayed home sick from school when I was a kid, I would put that tape on and I would fall asleep somewhere before Ghostbusters ended and wake up somewhere after The Last Starfighter started. And so they're the same movie to me, in a lot of really weird ways.
One just flows.
Yeah. But that's another movie that it's one of those movies that, and Three Amigos would be another one like this. It's one of those movies that I never remember not having memorized. Like it's just always been in my head, but I've never seen it in the theater.
That's a good one. I even though I just saw this actually because ArcLight here in LA did a showing in October for Halloween, but Beetlejuice, man, I never get sick.
Yes.
Never get
beautiful
sick of
movie.
it, man.
Yeah.
And it's just so great. I mean, with all sincerity, every time I rewatch Beetlejuice, I ask myself, how the hell did Michael Keaton not win an Oscar for this?
Right.
He's so great in it. And
But
actually,
he's not in very much of it.
I know, best supporting.
And it's like it's not like this like deep, serious, artistic movie, which is what
Judy
is just
Dench
the
won for
most-
Shakespeare in Love. She was in there for like 6.5 minutes or
That's
something
so-
like that.
But, just give her an Oscar. She's Judi Dench. Like,
She's a Dench.
Find a reason.
But fun fact about Beetlejuice, it's also the first movie I ever purchased in my entire life for I don't even remember how old I was, but it's a VHS tape that I still have.
Nice.
And like I got like birthday money, like gift money from my parents or whoever,
Yeah.
and like I chose to buy Beetlejuice with that money.
That's nice.
I was a f***ed up kid.
that was one. No, that was
fine.
that was one of the movies I loved when I was a kid. I loved Ghostbusters and I loved all these other movies. But Beetlejuice I rewatched. Like I would be like, I'm bored. It's Saturday. What do you go? I'll put it in the Beetlejuice VHS tape.
Yeah.
And I would rewatch it all the time.
Truly?
Probably the original Total Recall.
Ooh.
I just think that would be really nice, all cleaned up and real big.
Right.
Good time.
Clean it
cleaned
up,
up real
make it big,
big.
have a good time. Done. Okay, so one of these days we'll do not a double feature, quadruple feature
Yeah.
of Total Recall, Beetlejuice, Last
cut all the best
Starfighter,
parts
and
together.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah. We'll make them just one movie.
Make them one movie?
Supercut.
Super mashup.
Yeah.
Man. All right, I'll do it. It'll take me a while, but I'll do it. It won't be ready for next week's
Flash Gordon.
roundtable, but
Brian Blessed.
Beetlejuice. Bang, 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 bang. I'll be back. Wrong movie. Damn it.
it's not just a game, it was a test. Which is a Last Starfighter thing. Again, not the right table for Last Starfighter references. Well, I like that.
Or Star Wars.
I like
Space, really.
space, any sci-fi.
Stay out of
thing.
space at this roundtable.
Well, I
ask
like
the
that. That
boss.
was a very very nice and intimate start to our nice and intimate roundtable with only 4 participants this week.
I felt like we
Um,
know each other.
We know each other.
And now you guys know more about us.
Welcome.
Ba-dum-bum.
But moving on to other things that are going to be hitting very soon. We got a Sharknado 2 teaser. We got 1 jerk off motion. Mm-hmm. We got 2.
And
There we
an
go.
eye roll.
And an eye roll, which is the female equivalent of the jerk off motion, right?
Yeah, but you haven't seen me jerk off. It's very similar.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, we don't really need to ask why, right? I mean, we all know why.
I kind of did because, from what I understand, even though there was tons of internet buzz and, Twitter kind of action about Sharknado, no one actually watched it.
Right, it got terrible ratings,
It
right?
got terrible ratings, but apparently it did better on the repeats, right, Cruz? So that's how they can justify and find profit in a number 2. I mean,
It
a
was.
sequel.
I think the best article, we were talking about this before, the best article I read about it had the title of something to the effect of like, the internet is clearly less important than it thinks it is.
Yeah.
Because the night Sharknado aired, if the ratings were actually equivalent to the amount of buzz and discussion online, it would have been huge.
Literally the whole country watched.
But everybody that was talking about it, none of them watched it.
Yeah.
There was an inverse relationship between the amount of tweets and people actually
Like,
watching.
people were talking about the trailer and about, like, gifs that were getting passed around. Like,
Right.
1 or 2 dudes watched it, made a ton of shit, and then everybody watched those little...
And they didn't even watch it. They had music on, they had it on mute, and they were like,
And
oh,
they're
that'll be a
like,
good
oh,
gif,
that'd
hang
be-
on.
Right.
Well, then they went back and aired it, and they took all of like the funny tweets that like they just got for free because it's on Twitter. Just
Right.
help yourself, and edit it into the actual movie so that the movie played. And
Yeah,
then the
it was
tweets
like a
about
pop-up
the
video.
Yeah.
Pop-up
And,
video.
and those airings, that's when it was successful. Like, that's when it actually
Yeah.
hit numbers.
Yeah, apparently the
that
third
made money.
airing, the third time they ran it, it broke records in terms of like viewers for on Sci-Fi anyway.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of peculiar because it definitely, at least in my perception, until I actually looked into this because of what you were telling me, it seems like one of those things where I was just like, oh my god, that's so hilarious. Oh, I'm not actually gonna watch that shit though.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm
Like,
not
snakes on a
Well,
plane,
that
you know?
that is what it was, except what happened was that because the buzz was so thick, everyone felt like everyone actually did watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they felt like, oh shit, I missed out. I'm missing out on the joke. And so then they went back and watched it.
I'm missing out on
Yeah.
all this thick buzz.
And so I think... Look, Sharknado has a thick buzz.
Clean it up, make it big, thick buzz, we'll have a good time.
But like I saw that they're assuming that with Sharknado 2 that it's not going to take that, it's not going to have that delay,
Right.
Because all the people who watch Sharknado 1 eventually are going to jump in automatically to watch Sharknado 2 and make fun of it.
But even having said all of this, like a success for Sharknado on the third viewing was I think 2.1 million viewers,
Right.
Which is good for Sci-Fi, but it's not that good.
Well, it's
because-
good for cable.
Yes and no, because when you look at Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, the benchmarks for what's good for cable are going up and up and up. I mean,
Yes.
Walking Dead is averaging, I think they said 28 million viewers now based on live plus 7 day.
But I think those, like The Walking Dead and the Game of Thrones, it's like those are the big hits, and they're so far outside the realm of what a normal audience is for any of these shows, including Basic Network.
Yeah,
Well,
and
no,
there's only-
I don't think it's including Basic Network. Because Basic Network, like 2.5 Men hits like 20 million. Right? Like it hits,
Still.
Network hits
Or The Big
ridiculous
Bang
numbers.
Theory.
Because
Right.
anybody with a coat hanger on the back of their TV can watch that
Right.
show. But like
I think with, oh, go ahead.
as far as the cable goes, there's only a handful of shows that have ever been like sort of transcendent. But I mean, you look at like Sharknado is in a different category altogether because like it started.
It's a category of extremely low expectations.
Exactly. I mean, it was born out of the mega shark versus giant octopus of the world and everything, and then it sort of became this whole other like no, we understand that it's shit. We're making shit on purpose kind of genre.
It's like a genre of movies that exists for people to tweet about them.
Yeah,
and for nothing else.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think the benchmark is rising, right? Because like Veep, for example, and I think is considered a successful show.
Mm-hmm. She just won an Emmy.
She just won an Emmy. It's very critically acclaimed. Like they keep renewing it, and that is about 1 million views an episode. So Game of Thrones and Walking Dead are.
You're saying rather than raising the bar, they're more of an anomaly.
They're more of an anomaly, and then Game of Thrones would probably have matching ratings to The Walking Dead if it wasn't the most pirated show ever. Because it is. It's like it's officially the most pirated show ever. But
Which, by the way, who needs an HBO Go password?
I do.
You need one?
Yeah.
Okay.
my mom will share it. But so I think that like 2 million for the sci-fi it's a big deal.
Especially on a third airing.
Right.
It's
So
enough
yeah,
for,
maybe they'll get that too on the first try.
It's enough for them. It's enough for them.
and we can
to
all
be
stop
able to
talking
get,
about it.
It's enough for them probably to be able to get enough sponsorship money for the second one,
Right.
whether it does well or not, like to pre-sell that as it's gonna be big.
There's going to be plenty of talk about Sharknado 2 that we're not going to want to be involved in, so we could probably just move on.
Yeah.
That's probably enough Sharknado business.
We're probably also
Besides,
gonna watch
none of us are going to watch
I
it.
know, I'm not going to watch
I'm probably
it.
gonna watch it.
I'll watch it, but I'm mad at it.
Yeah.
I watched
Already-
the first one.
I'm not watching it.
I'm not going to watch it because Ian Ziering's name is Finn.
Dude, but
In a movie about sharks, his name is Finn. That's just...
he
That makes me
legitimately
angry.
rises above the content of the movie, which that is almost impossible in a movie called Shark. It seems like such a joke, and somehow you walk out of it and you go, "Yeah, Ian Ziering wasn't half bad in that."
I also have my fingers crossed that Tara Reid will die.
In real life? Or?
No, in the movie, because she didn't die in the first one.
Let's hope Mark McGrath dies in it, because I can't look at that face anymore. It's just scary.
My question is, in the trailer, they're all in the subway. But if they're in the subway, if the city's flooded enough that there's sharks on the streets, the subway's flooded. How are they in the subway? And if the city's not flooded enough,
I'm
the
gonna
sharks
stop
are
you.
in the subway.
I'm gonna stop you right there. You're thinking about it too much.
That's true.
All
They
right.
certainly think about it more than the writers did.
Yeah. Just this discussion was like I think they wrote the script quicker than this discussion. So moving right along to the other thing that's coming out this weekend, and by the time this is going to be on the internet, you're probably already watching Orange Is the New Black right now. That's coming out this weekend.
Yeah.
But it more so than just about the show, because I watched the first season and it was fine. I think I liked it. I'm not real sure, but it started a whole other conversation about binge watching on Netflix.
Or HBO Go.
or any of it.
Or any of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And like the culture of binge watching. And the big question that sort of came up is like, can you still be a fan of a show while binge watching?
Like, does it inspire the same sort of fandom? Because, like, Game of Thrones, for people who have watched from the beginning, it's like every week, it's like it's feeding that and it's growing that, and it's like you're really invested in stuff. And like in binge watching, I feel like there's less of that because it's a very compressed.
Instant gratification.
It's a shorter lifespan, I think, for the communal conversation, for sure, right? Because like everyone will go watch Orange Is the New Black this weekend, maybe next week, like over the next week probably, and so the conversation online will exist for like a month, maybe tops, maybe 2 weeks to a month,
Right.
and then it'll stop until there's a new season.
Right. Which feels like I think it also sort of like shortens the statute of limitations on spoilers.
Oh yeah,
Like you can't. It's like you didn't watch all of House of Cards in that first weekend. Like I'll give you a week, and then you can't bitch about like
right.
finding out what
That's
happened.
hardcore.
And that's like
Especially
13,
because-
but that's not me. Like because I still
Yeah.
haven't watched the season
me-
2 of House of Cards.
Me
But
neither.
like that's partly because it got spoiled for me, and I was like, oh well, forget it. I feel like I missed it. Like I missed a whole season of TV because I didn't watch it in the first 2 weeks.
Right.
And narrowing all of those windows sort of gives you less time to like actually get invested in it.
That being said, for any given spoiler, like your window's probably about the
surprises.
same. Forever, but like you know what I mean? Like say the Viper versus the Mountain. right? Like, that will reach a point of statute of limitations at about the same distance as all of House of Cards.
Yeah, but that's right. That's one episode versus a whole season of a show.
It'll still take some of us like 3 weeks to watch that.
The shows on Netflix, I haven't really become a fan of any of the shows. It's sort of an event having to go like, oh great, I get to binge watch all of Orange is the New Black this weekend. And whereas with Silicon Valley, I'm a huge fan of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Because there's a dedication to like coming back week to week, and it builds and it's nice and.
It's sort of that tantric experience of watching TV.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, another week.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I don't think that not watching Orange is the New Black on an ongoing basis makes me any less of a fan. Like, I'm a really big fan of that show.
Yeah.
But when it's not, after you've watched a season and in between them shooting another one, how often do you think about Orange is the New Black?
How I'm not, but like Silicon Valley was what, 8 episodes? The season finale just happened and I watched it. Until a year and a half from now when season 2 happens, I'm not going to think about it either. But I'm still a fan of the show. So
I don't know. I mean, I think I have to disagree.
Oh, we're rolling out.
Oh, I actually just wanted to jump in.
What?
I was just going to say about Orange is the New Black. That's a show that if that was set up week to week, I wouldn't have watched it.
Really?
Yeah, because that's a show that like it seems like it's created for binge watching. The first 3 episodes, I was like, I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know why people are still
And then it
interested.
like picks
And
up.
like
I'll
fourth,
go
fifth.
another. I'll go another.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
So you'd
I'll
have
go
given
through
up if you'd been
because
3
they're-
weeks in. And,
They're there, and it's like, why not go ahead and try it? People say it's good, it's worth it. So then you push
I actually feel really similarly about House of Cards. I really liked House of Cards, but season 1, I'm not sure if I would have had to watch that slowly. Like, it's such a slow build on purpose that I'm not sure I would have gotten all the way to the end.
I think to me it's also sort of the difference between TV and movies, and this might be sort of like semantic nitpicking a little bit.
Like,
but
is it just an 8-hour movie?
Yeah, and because like I don't think like you're never a fan of a movie. You like a movie, like you love a movie, and you're a fan of the actor. You know, like, and it might be a weird little thing, but I do think it changes the nature of like how you associate with a show. And obviously because it's Netflix's model to put them all out at once,
Right.
like they need to be geared that way.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about how that affects just the writing of the show, too. But I will say, I think I agree with you to the extent that there is some value in that anticipation week to week. And the fact that Silicon Valley isn't going to be on this Sunday, I'm going to be bummed out
It
on
bugs
Sunday
me.
night.
Well, like you miss that
know?
point where like an episode happens and you digest it with like the community of other people that watch
Yeah.
it, and it really ties that community together. And moving forward, as that continues to happen, are we going to have shows like Firefly, where like something sort of flashed in the pan and it just kind of like resounded throughout that community, and they fed on it, and the fact that it was canceled, this sort of like fed into this thing.
Yeah, I just don't think that Hemlock Grove just hasn't garnered as big a fan base as the other Netflix shows. But I do think that at least sort of the fan academic sort of engaged conversation of Orange is the New Black has continued going on through its hiatus, right? Like I've read articles about Orange is the New Black, and then about what they're going to do with season 2, and then about the reality of it versus the book versus the show. Like I've read that stuff all throughout the last year.
Not to mention a distasteful Halloween costume, courtesy of Julianne Hough.
Yeah. The online distribution system is a different animal. And I wonder if it might, like, Hulu's been trying to do the week-to-week thing with online distribution, and none of their shows have done that well. Yeah. And I wonder if that's part of it. It's because when we go online to watch it, there's a lot of people that kind of just expect to be able to watch it at their own pace that they decide, as opposed, whether that be all in one sitting or over longer periods, rather than have, like, Hulu or Netflix dictate that for you. Whereas we're more comfortable with doing that on TV because that's the system to which we were trained for.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely it's the precedent of like that's how we sort of expect everything to be released now. But I really do think it does something to sort of how you feel about the show and
your experience.
Yeah. And there is something to be said for doing it at your own pace or whatever. But I think like just getting it all at once, it's more of a movie than a TV show at this, and there's a different energy there.
Yeah.
Like being a fan of a TV show is different now because of binge watching.
I agree. I will agree with that. I just don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
No,
No, nobody's saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Just
It's just a roundtable,
It's
baby.
just a,
Come
it's
on,
just
man.
a thing.
This is just an intimate round.
nobody's trying to put a Brett Ratner stamp on it.
There are a couple shows where I've actually had both versions of these experiences watching them because I started watching them late and, there were still seasons airing week to week on TV. This happened for me with The Wire, where I watched seasons 1 through 3 on DVD, and then I was just like, holy shit, I've been missing out. And then I had to watch seasons 4 and 5 like everyone else.
Time. Yeah.
And same thing actually with Walking Dead. I didn't start watching that until December of 2013, and then I watched the most recent season week to week. And I think because I'd become spoiled from the binge watching experience in both, when I had to go week to week, it was still an enjoyable delayed gratification of just like, God, I gotta wait another week for one.
Yeah.
But there is some kind of like luxury in being able to watch them all
Right.
and then have that be it.
I think binge watching is spectacular for, like you said, catching up or revisiting or something like that. But when that's your only experience with the show, it's hard for me because I feel like I'm throwing down this weird hard and fast rule about what it means to be a fan.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't really mean to do that, but it's just the relationship that you have with a show that is only binge watchable is just different. It's
But,
more
like-
it's more movie-like than it is.
I mean, you could
But-
always just force yourself to not binge watch something
You
that's
could.
a Netflix
It's totally
show.
up to you. I
I
mean,
also,
it's
yeah,
up
I
to your
also
own-
think
your own
that
pace.
you, like your what you're like defining as fandom
Yeah.
is just inherently something that I don't adhere
Well,
to.
I mean,
because like in what you
esoteric.
say, where like you're not a fan of a movie, you're a fan of the star. I could give a rat's ass who the fuck is in it. I'm not gonna watch it because Kevin Spacey's in it. I'm gonna watch it because I've been told it's good. And
I'm going to
or-
watch it despite Kevin Spacey being in it.
Yeah,
In spite
that's
of.
generally true.
Yeah.
So and like there are movies that I'm a really big fan of, and like I'm a really big fan of Silence of the Lambs. I'm a really big fan of that movie, not of
Re-release?
yeah.
There you go.
And I'm a really big fan of the performances in it, like I am of all the performances in Game of Thrones. But I'm a fan of
But
the
I
movie.
think though, I mean, you're now narrowing fan to just being like a synonym for I like that movie.
No, like
Like that's
I mean,
I
are you
would
having
talk
like
about
an
it.
ongoing conversation?
Like I would talk about it, I would buy it, I would like get a poster. If there was like some sort of re-release, I would probably go to it. I have it on DVD, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is arguably what we do with a TV show. Like, if you're a fan of it, you engage in the community and you collect memorabilia and you get all that stuff. Otherwise, you just like the TV show as well.
I don't know. I mean, this is a completely different conversation, but I always thought it was weird that, like, owning memorabilia and DVDs is some sort of like, here's proof that I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think owning it, literally, makes you any more or less of a fan. It's really just, it's in here, baby.
It is. That's true.
That's where the fandom
That's
lives.
true. But I think that in terms of
I
like
think
you're a fanatic, right?
Right,
Like that
fan again is
you
short
are
for-
slightly more crazy.
It's short
than the
for
rest.
fanatic, and I think there's like there's sort of a repetitive nature to that. Like you keep going back to it. So maybe
Right.
it is fair to say you're a fan of a movie because you keep going back
Like
to the
Beetlejuice, like
rewatching it.
there are
and all
tons of
stuff,
movies
but-
that I like that I will never rewatch.
But again,
Right.
like that still does binge watching still doesn't qualify as that to me.
So until we can crack somebody's chest open and get to what it means to be a fan, I don't
Correct.
think we can actually.
I don't think we can actually answer that question.
Can we
So
crack somebody's chest?
I think that's as good a spot as any to wrap up this very intimate, very. I feel like I've learned a lot about each of you.
One of the more meaningful.
One of the more meaningful.
we discussed
literally
the very
just-
nature of
We
fandom.
just debated the nature of fandom.
and decided nothing.
Well, I think I decided Clint was wrong.
Try doing that with 8 people in the room. I don't think we can. But that does it for us this week. Let us know what you think about that. What kind of fan are you? Are you a fan, or do you just like it? And what the hell does that mean? Let us know in the comments below. Click like and subscribe. Come back next time for more movie news on CineFix Now. And we gotta go, so we can get out of here. Blah 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 blah. Time to leave.
We're angry this week.
Rebel.
Rabble rabble rabble.